Hi, today we'll see about inflammation. Inflammation means it is a process where it allows the body to eliminate some injurious agents and it contains injuries and heal the defects. Means some injurious agents which present in our body, this inflammation will allow that injurious agents to send out from the body. It is non-specific response and it can be a local or systemic, and it can be acute, chronic, or sometimes with both. Okay, if you see what are the local and systemic symptoms, means signs of inflammation. If we see the local symptoms, means we can see redness or heat, swelling, pain, and loss of normal tissue function. All these 5 can be observed in the localized symptoms of inflammation. Means if an inflammation occurs, there can be a swelling. If swelling is there, we can call that as inflammation, and it can represent with the pain or red color on the skin, and tissue function means loss of sensitivity, sense. All these together will consider as a localized symptoms of inflammation. And if you see systemic, means inside the body. If you see systemic signs, means inflammation can cause fever, means a fever can be occurred due to any other inflammations or infections. And leukocytes means you already know that increased WBC count, leukocytosis. And elevated C-reactive protein means it is nothing but non-specific protein which is produced in the liver. And lymphadenopathy means it is a condition of abnormal enlargement of lymph node. These are the systemic symptoms of inflammation. Okay, if we see the mechanism involved in the inflammation, means first it will start with the injury to the tissue, means first the tissue will be injured. After that there will be a constriction of microcirculation, and after constriction, wherever if the constriction is there, immediately dilation will occur. So after constriction of microcirculation, it leads to the dilation of the microcirculation, and this microcirculation, it causes a hyperemia means nothing but increased blood flow in capillaries, and gradually it produces redness, and we'll call that as erythema and heat. Means after dilation of microcirculation, it causes hyperemia and it results in the erythema and heat. After that there is an increase in the permeability, and it exudates and leaves the microcirculation, what we call that as a process known as translation. Means the exudate part leaves the microcirculation, means we will call that as translate. And after that there is an increased blood viscosity. If the blood viscosity is increased, then there will be a decrease in the blood flow. We can see the margination and pavementing of the WBC cells, what we call that as chemotaxis. And when the WBC cells enter the tissue, there will be an emigration process. After emigration, it repeats the process exudate and results in edema. And if any of the WBC cells ingest the foreign material, it occurs the phagocytosis process and gradually results in the inflammation part. Okay, we have seen that inflammation, and now we'll see the repair. The repair is what the body does to fix the damaged tissue when a complete return to the normal. And here regeneration is not possible. If we see clearly that it is a final defense mechanism, the body clears out all the necrotic and or dead tissues, and it replaces the damaged or destroyed tissue. And if the area healed with the scar, and if you have to keep in mind that the scar tissue should not be a functional tissue, then it replaces the damaged and destroyed tissue with the normal tissue. This is about the repair. If we see the phases of repair, we can see first one is inflammation, proliferation, and maturation. These are the three process of the repair mechanism. Here we are seeing what's happening clearly in the repair mechanism. Means in this repair it involves clotting. Means they first it forms a after injury occurs, means after inflammation. We have already seen that there are three phases. The first one is inflammation, proliferation and maturation. First it starts with the inflammation, means that is nothing but if injury occurs then it results in inflammation, and after that it involves clotting. After formation of clot, that begins acute inflammation. After day one of the injury, immediately after the day one of injury, it occurs the acute inflammation begins, in which the neutrophils first response arrive and begins to phagocytize the foreign invaders, and then the necrotic tissue occurs. Here during the second to seventh day, the monocytes emigrate to the site of injury, and it changes to the macrophages and also phagocytize invaders and necrotic tissue. And these process, it makes some cells for destruction by a process called opsonization. Means during this here we are seeing the day 2 to 7. Here the monocytes emigrate. Where they emigrate means they emigrate to the site of injury, and there it changes to the macrophages, and also there is a process known as it phagocytize invaders and the necrotic tissues and make some cells for destruction by a process known as opsonization. Here, as a monocyte or macrocyte activity increases, the neutrophil activity decreases. We are seeing the third one, neutrophil activity is decreased, and during this day 7 all the factors will be normal, and the fibroblast from new tissues called granulation tissue is we are seeing, and there we can also see the lymphocytes, plasma cells, and here the immune responses begins. In day 7 the surface is sealed and remodeling of granulation tissue is still going on. After the 14th day, the remodeling completed and the scar tissue is formed. This is known, the 14th day process is known as, we'll call that as maturation. After remodeling only the maturation of the tissues will be formed. This is about the process of repair. Here we will say about the alterations in the vascular permeability and blood flow. What are the alterations happening in the vascular event means? The first we'll see the definition. The alteration in the microvasculature means that is arterioles, venous and capillaries is the earliest response to the tissue injury. This microvasculature refers to the smallest systems of blood vessels in a body, and it is called as a microvessel. What are the alterations happening means? Change in the vascular permeability or alteration in the vascular permeability, and hemodynamic changes or alterations in the blood flow. These are the two changes we are going to study in the inflammation process. Okay, first one we'll see the changes in the vascular permeability. If you see that in acute inflammation, a non-permeable endothelial layer of microvasculature becomes leaky, and it is explained by following mechanisms. The following three mechanisms. The first one is contraction of endothelial cells, direct injury to the endothelial cells, and endothelial injury mediated by the leukocytes. Okay, we'll see the first one, the contraction of endothelial cells. In this, it is a most common mechanism of increased leakness, that is increased vascular permeability. Permeability means nothing but flow is increased, means free flow. So vascular permeability is increased. That specially affects the venules, while the capillaries and arterioles remains unaffected. Due to this increased vascular permeability, the venules are only affected, but the arterioles and capillaries are unaffected. The endothelial cells developed temporary gap between them, and because of their contraction, the vascular leakness occurs. there is a gap between these uh, endothelial cells, and due to that gap there occurs a contraction, and because of that contraction the vascular permeability is increased. It is mediated by the release of histamine, bradykinin and other chemical mediators. Means the histamine, bradykinin and chemical mediator, these are the mediators of inflammation. So it is mediated by this release of these mediators. Means when the histamine, bradykinin or leukotriene bind to their specific receptors, it leads to the contraction of endothelial cells. This response begins immediately after injury. Either this response may be reversible and it can occur for short duration, that is 15 to 30 minutes. If you see the second one, that is direct injury to the endothelial cells. The first one we have seen, that is contraction, and the second one direct injury. In this process the direct injury to the endothelial cells causes necrosis and also leads to appearance of physical gap at the site of detached endothelial cell. And these changes affect all the level of microvasculature. In the first one we have seen that only venules are affected but not the capillaries and arterioles, but in this level arterioles, capillaries and venules all are affected. The increased permeability may either appear immediately after the injury, and it may last for several hours or days, or may occur after the delay of 2 to 12 hours and last for hours and days. This is a delayed prolonged leakage. But in the first one we will see that it may occurs after the 15 to 20 minutes of the injury. If you see the third one, that is endothelial injury mediated by the leukocytes. If you see that in this endothelial injury which is mediated by leukocytes, means here the adherence of leukocyte to the endothelium at the site of inflammation results in activation of leukocytes, and these activated leukocytes release proteolytic enzymes and also toxic oxygen species which may causes endothelial injury, and therefore it increases the vascular permeability. Mostly the venules are involved, and this form of increased vascular permeability is a late response. In the means this third one means this injury which is mediated by the leukocytes is a late response. Okay, up to here we have seen the what are the changes that happening in the vascular permeability. Now we will see the alterations in the blood flow. If you see, this is we are seeing the flow chart. First there will be a transient vasoconstriction and it results in persistent progressive vasodilation. I have previously told that if there is a constriction then immediately dilation should be happened. So first constriction and then it results in vasodilation. After vasodilation the hydrostatic pressure will increase, means immediately due to the due to the sudden dilation of the vessels there will be increase in the pressure, and it results in stasis and then finally leukocytic margination. Okay, first we'll go clearly with the every part of this flowchart. The first one is transient vasoconstriction. Irrespective of the type of injury, a immediate vascular response occurs, that is transient vasoconstriction of arterioles. When the injury is not severe at that time, the blood flow restarts in 3 to 5 seconds. Means if any injury happens, if it is not any higher accident, it is not any major condition, then the blood flow restarts in 3 to 5 seconds. While in case of severe injury, the vasoconstriction lasts for about 5 minutes. And the second one is persistent progressive vasodilation. We have seen that vasoconstriction is completed. Now what happening in the vasodilation? It involves mainly arterioles and also involves venules, capillaries, but at less extent. In this, the vasodilation results in increased blood volume in microvascular bed of the injured area, which is responsible for redness and warmth at the site of acute inflammation. Now we will go for the third one, that is hydrostatic pressure is increased. Due to the vasodilation there will be an increase in the pressure. The progressive vasodilation elevates means increase the local hydrostatic pressure, resulting in the translation of fluid into extracellular space. This is responsible for the swelling at the site of acute inflammation. If you see the persistent the fourth one, that is stasis or slowing. In this, it is attributed to increase the permeability of microvasculature that results in increased concentration of red blood cells, and thus because of this the blood viscosity is increased. This is known as stasis condition. And if we see margination, the stasis is followed by leukocytic margination. Margination mainly involves neutrophils along with the vascular endothelium. The leukocyte sticks to the vascular endothelial cells and briefly then move, and then they migrate through the gap between the endothelial cells into the extravascular space. This process is known as emigration. Means the leukocytes stick to the vascular endothelial cells and then they migrate through the gap between the endothelial cells into the extravascular space. This is known as emigration. Margination means it is a process in which the free flowing leukocytes exit the central bloodstream and initiate the leukocyte and endothelial cells interaction by close mechanical contact. This is about the margination, leukocyte margination. What we are all these 5 processes are the alterations that happening in the blood flow. We'll repeat that. The first one is transient vasoconstriction, persistent vasodilation, after that increased hydrostatic pressure, stasis, and leukocyte margination. This is about the alterations in the vascular permeability and blood flow. Okay, now we'll see about the acute inflammation and chronic inflammation. If we see the difference between the acute and chronic inflammation, acute means it is the rapid response, means a short time of inflammation which lasts for hours to days, and it leads to injury that is characterized by erythema, nothing but redness, warmth means heat, edema or swelling, pain and loss of function. I think we have seen all these 5 in the symptoms, localized symptoms of inflammation. So these are the symptoms what we are seeing in the acute inflammation. The triggers include infection, foreign bodies, toxins, immune reactions and necrotic tissues. The inflammatory cells predominantly include neutrophils, basophils, eosinophils and some macrophages. In this acute inflammation, the matrix is composed of necrotic debris and acute inflammatory cells. Okay. If you see about the chronic inflammation, it is a prolonged response, means weeks or months, or we can define that as repeated inflammation results in the chronic inflammation, means repeated attack of inflammation results in chronic inflammation, which is characterized by interplay of inflammation, tissue injury and efforts to repair the damage. Means in chronic inflammation it has there is a chance of repairing the damage. The stimuli includes virus, chronic infections, persistent injury and autoimmune diseases. Means these are the causes of chronic inflammation. The inflammatory cells predominantly lymphocytes, macrophages and plasma cells. In this acute inflammation, predominant cells are only neutrophils, basophils, eosinophils and some macrophages. Here we are seeing the lymphocytes, macrophages and plasma cells. In this, the matrix is composed of fibroblasts, fibrin, new vessels, that is angiogenesis and chronic inflammatory cells. This is about the acute and chronic inflammation. Now we will see the outcome of acute inflammation. That is nothing but acute inflammation is caused due to injury, means after the injury occurs, that injury may be due to any infection, bacterial infection, trauma or toxins that results in acute inflammation. In that acute inflammations, there will be a changes in the vasculation means vascular changes, limited tissue injury, and neutrophil recruitment means we have already seen that the predominant cells are here neutrophils. So slowly this acute inflammation results in chronic inflammation. In this chronic inflammation, the injury can occur due to the viral infections, chronic infections, persistent injury, or any other autoimmune disease, means causes of chronic inflammation. In that, angiogenesis may occur, mononuclear cell infiltrate, fibrosis, scarring of connective tissues, and progressive tissue injury can occur, and there is a repair or healing of the tissue is happened. In this healing process, the first we have to heal the fibrosis part, because the fibrosis results in the inflammation part, means damages the in fibrosis we are seeing the thickening and scarring of the connective tissue and collagen deposition and loss of function. If we want to heal this process, means after death of the first we are seeing the loss of function, and later we will see the death of the cells. After that, slowly the repair process will be started, and means the scars will be healed in the chronic inflammation. But in case of acute inflammation, no healing process is observed, because it's only short duration of time, so healing processes cannot be observed. This is about the acute and chronic inflammation. Now we will see about the mediators of inflammation. What are the mediators? First definition: any messenger that acts on blood vessels, inflammatory cells, or other cells to contribute the inflammatory response, means the main effect will be on the response of the inflammation. Those response is known as mediators. Classification: it is of two types, cell derived mediators and plasma derived mediators. Okay, first one, if you see cell derived mediators, we can see that vasoactive amines, it includes serotonin and histamine, and arachidonic acid metabolites. Here we can see two pathways, and the next one lysosomal components, platelet activating factors, cytokines, and nitric acid and oxygen metabolites. If you see the first one, that is vasoactive amines, in histamine we can see they are stored in the granules of mast cells, basophils, and platelets. Here it causes the vasodilation and increases the vascular permeability, itching, and pain. At the same time, if we see the serotonin, it is similar to the histamine, but it is present in chromaffin cells of the GIT, spleen, mast cells, and platelets. Here we can see vasodilation and there is increased vascular permeability. If we see the second one, arachidonic acid metabolites, two pathways, cyclooxygenase pathway and lipooxygenase pathway. These two pathways result in the vasodilation. And the third one is lysosomal components. These are the potent mediators which happens in the and there will be a degradation of bacterial and these are the we can see the degradation of bacterial and extracellular components. And the fourth one is platelet activating factor. It is a phospholipid derived mediator where we can see there is an increased vascular permeability, vasoconstriction, vasodilation, and degradation. If you see the cytokines, these cytokines are nothing but small protein molecules responsible for the regulation of immune response. Some cytokines such as interleukins, interferons, TNF, TGF beta, and chemokines. These are the some of the cytokines. If we see the nitric oxide and oxygen metabolites, they are the endothelium derived relaxing factor and their function is vasodilation, and these are the we can see the antiplatelet activating agents. These are the antiplatelet activating agents. This is about the cell derived mediators. If you see plasma derived mediators, the first one, it includes 4 systems. The first one, kinin system, clotting system, fibrinolytic system, and complement system. These are the 4 interlinked systems where it involves a Hagman factor, that which is nothing but factor 12, and it involves the end product of clotting fibrinolytic kinin system will activate the complement system. It means the first three systems will activate the fourth one, that is nothing but the complement system. First we'll start with the kinin system. Here the factor 12 will convert it into the factor 12A, and it results in prekallikrein activator. This plasma prekallikrein converts to the kallikrein, and with the help of kininogen it results in the bradykinin. Means the final end product of the kinin system mechanism is bradykinin, and its actions involve smooth muscle contraction, vasodilation, increased vascular permeability, and pain. If we see the second one, that is clotting mechanism, the factor 12 convert to the factor 12A, and the factor 11 will convert to the factor 11A. With addition to this, the factor 7A and PF3, it results in conversion of factor 10 to factor 10A and 5A, and with the presence of PF3, the prothrombin is converted to thrombin, and fibrinogen is converted to fibrin, and it also results in fibrinopeptides with the help of plasmin. So finally clotting system results in the end product of fibrin and fibrinopeptides. The function is it increases the vascular permeability, chemotaxis for leukocytes, and anticoagulant activity. If we see the fibrinolytic system, we can see plasminogen activators results in the plasminogen, and it converts into plasmin. This plasmin is results in fibrin, and thus the fibrin shows the end product of fibrin degradation product, and this process will be reacted with the help of activated protein C. In this, the activation of factor 12 to form prekallikrein activator that stimulates the kinin system to generate bradykinin, which is the first one. It splits off the complement C3 to form C3A, which is the permeability factor, and degrades fibrin to split the products. They increase the vascular permeability. And the fourth one is complement system. In this, the end product of the first three systems together form complement system. The product of complement system is anaphylatoxins, that is C3A and C5A. The potency is C3A greater than C5A greater than C4A. It functions is they release the histamines from mast cell and basophils. The C5A is a chemotactic for leukocytes, and in this the membrane attack complex cause pores in the cells of invading microbes. This is about the mediators of the inflammations.